Hello, I'm Jay Morris Hicks, speaking to you today from the Green Mountain state of Vermont. I'm honored to be included in the 11 Days of Global Unity event, where I believe that my topic, connecting the dots to a sustainable future, is a perfect fit for the overall focus of this powerful online series. Today, I will walk you through a few highlights of our new book, Outcry, Urgent Alarms from Our Planet and What We Can Do About Them. First, I wish to acknowledge my co-author pictured here. He's the person who invited and introduced the amazing Greta to the world stage in 2018. Jim Cameron describes our global dilemma on the cover of Outcry. The world is completely delusional and going to hell in a handbasket as fast as humanly possible. The only relevant question is, how do we make the crash as soft a landing as possible for some kind of continuation of human civilization? We do it by taking bold action as soon as possible. In so doing, we should be guided by this message of urgency from the straight-talking governor of Washington. We are the first generation to feel the sting of climate change, and we are the last generation that can do something about it. For all the children of the world, it is imperative that we indeed do something about it. For their sake, we must jolt ourselves into thinking differently, a process that we describe in the final chapter of Outcry. So let's begin connecting the dots to a sustainable future between the way we have chosen to live on this planet and nature's ability to sustain us. Let's just hope we do a better job than the Rapa Nui of Easter Island, who were on the verge of extinction when Dutch explorers arrived there in 1722. Their fairly advanced civilization had collapsed long before. We start with these 5 grossly unsustainable situations, all of which must be addressed: overpopulation, eternal growth economy, fossil fuel dependence, our food choices, too much CO2 in the atmosphere already. Mother Nature, pictured here, is not happy with what's going on and speaks her mind in the next slide, where she establishes the theme of this book in the foreword, which is addressed to all humans in the developed world. A brief excerpt. As a result of your failed stewardship of this planet, things are likely to become very painful for you in the future. And for that, I am terribly sorry. But frankly, I have run out of patience with you and your selfish ways. Quite simply, you've become very problematic tenants who are now in serious danger of being evicted. Yes, she used the word tenants. She is our landlord, and we don't really own anything. We are just one of billions of species of tenants on this planet, but the only one that is not living in harmony with nature. We start with what we eat because that is the only one of those 5 unsustainable situations that we as individuals can address immediately. I drive home my point in the next 2 slides about the protein myth and the related locked brain syndrome. My journey began back in 2002 when I became curious about the optimal diet for humans for health reasons. Later, after 15 years of studying about sustainability issues in general, I drew this conclusion about our food choices. The protein myth. Because of the mistaken yet almost ubiquitous belief that we humans actually need to eat animal protein to be healthy, a host of incredibly powerful plant-based solutions to the world's most serious health, hunger, and sustainability crises never even make it to the table for consideration. Here's the bottom line on our love affair with eating meat. On a per-calorie basis, animal-based foods require over 10 times as much land, water, and energy as do plant-based foods. How many? 10 times. Because of this mind-boggling information, I'm fairly certain that if we cannot take the animal out of the equation when it comes to feeding ourselves, we will never learn to live in harmony with nature, thereby placing the future of our civilization and our species in serious jeopardy. So how are we doing so far? Not good. But of course, it's not just the food. It's also about the way we live. As Pope John Paul II said, modern society will find no solution to the ecological problem unless it takes a serious look at its lifestyle. So when it comes to modifying our lifestyles enough to prevent our demise as a species, can these environmental NGOs save us? I don't think so. They don't address food choices, and they have no vision for a sustainable civilization in the future. They may mean well, but they are nowhere close to doing all that is needed for our survival. So how green is green enough? No one knows how green we must live to survive. So I suggest that we challenge ourselves to err on the side of living even greener than nature demands. Why? Because we are likely to get only one chance to get this right. To be clear, we're talking about the urgent need to totally reinvent every aspect of the way we live as we create a human habitat where only green lifestyle options exist. Connecting the dots regarding urgent alarms from nature, droughts, floods, fires. As is frequently reported, the past 5 years have been the hottest on record. 19 of the hottest 20 years have occurred since 2001. Polar ice and glaciers are melting, and coral reefs and rainforests are disappearing. And don't forget the fires. The bigger the circle, the bigger the fire. On this 100-year graph, most of the largest California fires have occurred in the past 20 years. Birds, insects, coral, all in terminal decline. Birds down 29% in the US and Canada in just 50 years. As for the insects, from a 2019 study, the University of Sydney predicted that half of all insects in the world will be gone in 50 years, and all insects will be gone within 100 years. Without their pollination of crops, countless species cannot survive. Birds, bats, fish, reptiles, and mammals of every size and description, including Homo sapiens. These 9 big picture scientists are featured in chapter 4. Some of their conclusions are quite troubling. We take their concerns seriously, but are more optimistic about our chances than some of them are, and will explain why after hearing from 5 of them. Let's begin with the most famous, described by Ted Turner as the father of the modern environmental movement. He told Ted in 1993, 4 years before his death at 87, the following: "We've passed the threshold. The beginning of the end has started. Man may or may not be part of the plan nature has for the earth in the future. Life will be reborn, but first, the world as we know it now will die." Frank Fenner, esteemed Australian physician and scientist, and the overall leader of the global team that eradicated smallpox, concluded at the age of 95 in 2010, shortly before his death. Homo sapiens will become extinct, perhaps within 100 years. A lot of other animals will too. It's an irreversible situation. I think it's too late. And then there's Stephen Emmott, possibly the most informed big picture scientist on the planet. He wrote this in the final paragraph of his book, 10 Billion, published in 2013. As a scientist, what do I think about our current situation? Science is essentially organized skepticism. I spend my life trying to prove my work wrong or look for alternative explanations for my results. I hope I'm wrong, but the science points to my not being wrong. We urgently need to do, and I mean actually do, something radical to avert a global catastrophe. But I don't think we will. I think we're effed, using the F word as the final word in his 2013 book. James Lovelock, viewing the earth as one giant self-regulating system that he dubbed Gaia, this living legend grasps the relevant global big picture more completely than perhaps any other scientist in history. He expressed this dire conclusion in a 2010 BBC film. "When you see the whole picture, it is really fearsomely bad. I fear that not many of us will survive, at best about 1 billion, possibly a lot less than that. If the earth improves as a result of our presence, then we will flourish. If it doesn't, then we will die off." I have a question for you. Is Earth improving because of our presence? Then there's Peter Wadhams, who I've got to know recently, arguably the world's leading authority on the connection between the Arctic Ocean and climate change. He concludes in the book above, A Farewell to Ice, quote, "Our only chance is to urgently begin removing CO2 from the atmosphere, and we're not doing that." He says, melting Arctic sea ice is the canary in the coal mine, and the canary dies, we're not far behind. Temperatures are rising much faster in the Arctic than in the rest of the world, as you can see here on this graph. As a result, the ice is rapidly disappearing. Tragically, most humans think that's a good thing. More shipping lanes, more tourism, more oil. Really sad. So why are we more optimistic about our long-term chances of survival than these big picture scientists seem to be? It's because of four critical areas of knowledge in which many of them may be lacking: food choices, systemic change, artificial intelligence, and leadership. While I respect them greatly, I am more confident than they are that we can learn to live in harmony with nature. By leveraging these four disciplines to completely replace our civilization with one that can actually improve the biosphere. What about infrastructure renewal? Does it really make sense to spend trillions of dollars repairing or replacing existing infrastructure that will likely be underwater in 50 years? Willy-nilly infrastructure replacement is not going to save us. We must have a realistic vision and plan for a whole new way of sustainable living in order for us to survive and thrive on this planet. Let's talk about that vision in the next few slides. It all starts with vision and leadership. Good business leaders create a vision, articulate the vision, passionately own the vision, and relentlessly drive it to completion. We love what Buckminster Fuller had to say about changing things. You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. We definitely need a new system of living on this planet. And whatever we decide, we're going to need a brand new sustainability-focused method of scorekeeping. We call it earthonomics, as it replaces capitalism. Did you ever stop to think about just how ridiculous capitalism truly is? An international scorekeeping system that guarantees the never-ending depletion of the Earth's finite resources until they are all gone. Obviously, we need a better way to keep score. Earthonomics, a way of keeping score on planet Earth that rewards all actions to improve the biosphere and punishes those that inflict damage. So let's imagineer a world where that is possible. We call it the Great Big Northern, or GBN for short, a magical place where only green options exist. A 3,000-mile futuristic living corridor near the Canadian border, 25 miles wide, with a fabulous Hyperloop system in the center, housing up to 300 million people with 70% less population density than New York City has now. Also, the world's largest farmers markets, full employment, no homelessness, and the same superior health care for all. The greenest part of the GBN, magnificent Hyperloop system using today's technology, replacing over 90% of domestic air and automobile travel shown below. All citizens will be less than a half-day travel from everyone they know. What about governance, jobs, and pecking order in the Great Big Northern? Consider this analogy. Think about a huge aircraft carrier in the US Navy with a crew of 5,000. This analogy illustrates the concept of governance and mission alignment, not necessarily physical conditions. Every crew member wants to be there. They trained to be there. They applied to be there. They're proud to be there. They all have exciting jobs, uniforms, meals, a salary, entertainment, social life, and a comfortable place to sleep. There is a defined pecking order based on each person's level of contribution to the mission. The entire crew is aligned 100% with the same mission. Their vessel is crucially important, as is ours, pictured here. Nothing is more important than our essential vessel that keeps us alive on the only planet in the universe capable of doing so, the biosphere. How green are we living now in the developed world? My estimate, between 10 and 20% is efficient as needed. Clearly, we've got a lot of work to do and there's not much margin for error. So what if we fail? Consider the disaster for all the children if we err on the side of taking out too few of our unsustainable habits. So as we plan our new system of living, we must keep this guideline in mind. When in doubt, take it out. What about other countries? They can build on our model and modify theirs to suit them. The global conversation is what it's all about, and it can begin now. When all else fails, can AI save us? In a world with 195 countries and thousands of religions, it is highly unlikely to this practical engineer that we will ever get this mammoth GBN kind of task accomplished without a great deal of help from our cyborg friends. Dr. Lovelock agrees, concluding in Novacine, a book that he published in 2019. We need not be afraid. We shall not descend into the kind of war between humans and machines that is so often described in science fiction, because we need each other. Gaia will keep the peace. I hope he's right. Elon Musk and Vladimir Putin on the future of AI. Musk says, I am very close to the cutting edge in AI, and it scares the hell out of me. It's capable of vastly more than almost anyone knows, and the rate of improvement is exponential. And Vladimir Putin with these chilling words, whoever becomes the leader in this sphere will become the ruler of the world. Wow, we got to beat him to that party. How do we save our biosphere? We listen to the concerns of those scientists as we envision and plan our way of life. Based on those concerns, we must strive to live even greener than nature demands. We believe that we can get this done. Remember, it can all get started with a robust global conversation. Sound crazy? Well, Steve Jobs had something to say about that. People who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do. Are we crazy enough? If not, let's get crazy now. Read the book, encourage others to read it, have me conduct free Zoom conferences with your group, join with friends to help spark the much needed conversation calling for massive systemic change. The more people who are talking about this crucial topic, the greater the chance that powerful leaders will take notice. Contact me directly. I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll sign off now and say farewell, and let's all work together to create a sustainable future. Thank you very much.